If you are a health professional who helps patients complete POLST forms, this video will provide you with the who, what, when, why, and how.
The POLST is a written order. That's the standard that we want to find at the scene. We cannot withhold any treatment that we're capable of giving without a legal document that authorizes us to withhold that. As we're working on the person, I think if this was me, I wouldn't want this to be happening right now if it was my mother or father. But without legal guidance, we have to do everything within our ability regardless.
POLST stands for Provider Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment, a program that was developed in Oregon more than 20 years ago. While the POLST form is pink in Oregon, it is bright yellow in New Hampshire. The POLST form is a signed medical order regarding resuscitation, medical interventions, and artificially administered nutrition for patients who are nearing the end of their lives. The time to complete a POLST form is after you've had a conversation with your patient or their healthcare representative.
POLST is a piece of paper without a conversation. It really looks at goals of care, treatment options, people's personal culture and desires, what they want, who they might like to speak for them. It allows for talking about the chances of recovery, the options for treatment, and what they might mean with respect to quality of life or length of life, what's important to the patient. The conversation really is what helps set the compass of what the POLST is supposed to implement and bring about.
POLST is designed for someone with more advanced illness. They might have advanced heart or lung disease, cancer that has spread, or they might be older and frail. If something suddenly happened, healthy seniors would likely want everything done medically, at least until they knew more about their condition and chances for recovery. These seniors should have an advance directive. If in time they become more frail or get sicker, they or a person they appoint may want to complete a POLST and turn their wishes into action as a medical order. And whenever a patient's health status changes, it is imperative to review and revise the POLST form to reflect current wishes.
You can lift a burden from those you love if you complete an advance directive or a POLST form and make your wishes known. If you talk to your family and they know what you want, then they can stand by what you wanted rather than deciding for you in a time of crisis.
Here's a detailed look at the POLST form. While the form begins with a section about resuscitation, this is not the most important question for people with advanced illness and frailty. For these patients, CPR is not likely to be effective. In fact, resuscitation is successful in less than 3% of frail nursing home residents. When they understand their disease process, most patients who are in hospice or long-term nursing facilities choose the option "Do not attempt resuscitation," also known as a DNR order. Section B contains decisions about whether to return to the hospital and the intensive care unit. These decisions are very important in guiding the direction of care and making sure it matches the patient's goals. Some people wish full treatment, including life support measures in the ICU. This includes intubation and mechanical ventilation. Without a POLST form, this is the level of treatment that would automatically be provided. Others choose limited additional interventions, which can include transport to the hospital to receive basic medical treatments. These patients generally wish to avoid the intensive care unit, but would want more easily addressed conditions treated. Some choose comfort measures only. This focuses care on maximizing comfort through symptom management so that they may spend time with family. These patients prefer not to be hospitalized. Sometimes comfort measures only is referred to as allow natural death. Patients who mark the attempt CPR box should not also have an order for comfort measures only. No matter what options are chosen on a POLST form, comfort measures should always be provided.
One thing to notice about the comfort measures only order is that it indicates that the patient prefers not to be transferred to the hospital. But there is an exception to that, and that's if they can't be kept comfortable where they are. Say if their pain was out of control, or if they fell and there was a fear that they could have broken something. In that setting, it is appropriate to transport them to the hospital.
For patients whose goals of care don't fit neatly into one of these boxes, additional or clarifying orders can be written here. Section C records patient preferences for medically administered nutrition. Food and fluids are always offered by mouth when feasible. Some patients would prefer long-term artificial nutrition by tube. Studies have shown for some patients, such as those with permanent coma, artificial nutrition by tube can lengthen their lives. However, for others, such as patients with advanced cancer or Alzheimer's dementia, it may not. Some want a feeding tube only for a defined trial period. For example, a patient might wish a trial with a feeding tube for 2 months following a stroke. Another patient may want a trial period of artificial hydration for acute reversible illness.
What happens to the nature of human contact? That's the most important thing that should happen in the last stages of life. And tube feedings or artificial nutrition change that nature. And we can do just as well. Some studies have shown that the survival rate is the same with well-done hand feeding. So if they're in the last stages of life, we can do just as well at getting them nutrition, and more importantly, much better at getting them human contact through hand feeding than we would through artificial nutrition.
Section E documents that the POLST conversation occurred with the patient or an authorized representative. The patient should sign the form if he or she is able to make his or her own health care decisions. If unable to sign, an authorized representative should sign. The signature of the patient or authorized representative provides tangible evidence that the conversation took place. The backside of a POLST form includes a line to indicate the name and contact information for the patient's authorized representative. Even if the patient is able to sign, it is important to include this contact information so it can be found easily in an emergency. Like any valid medical order, POLST forms must be signed and dated in order for them to be valid. In a recent national experience, 10% of POLST forms were invalid. The most common reason why? They were either not dated or not signed. In New Hampshire, POLST orders can be signed by a physician or a nurse practitioner. If another member of the healthcare team, such as a social worker, engages the patient or authorized representative in a goal of care conversation and then completes the POLST form, that person would enter their name and title on the back of the form.
No one has to have a POLST form. POLST is entirely voluntary. Now, an institution could have a policy that you routinely offer a POLST form and that people would have an opportunity to complete one because if they're sick enough, they might want one, but you don't have to have it. You can revoke your POLST form, you can have a new one written, and it's not unusual for people to have more than one POLST form as their disease progresses.
The POLST program began in Oregon, but is now used in a growing number of states, including New Hampshire, where the form is bright yellow.
We made a conscious decision to review the form every 2 years, to look at the research, to look at how it's working in our emergency departments, in our ICUs, in our nursing homes, and how our patients and their families are having their experiences with it. And we collect suggestions for changes. It really has exceeded our expectations in terms of both honoring patient wishes and how fast it spread to other states who have the same goals that we have.
What I've learned through my practice is that the POLST really does work. It works for patients, it works for their families, it works for health professionals. Patients' wishes do seem to be better supported.
You may find more information on the POLST program at polst.org or healthynh.com. This video is made possible through grants from an anonymous donor and the Alice R. Cheatham Family Fund of the Oregon Community Foundation, and gifts from Mary Beth W. Collins and Charita Collins-Smith. The OHSU Center for Ethics in Healthcare administers the National POLST Paradigm Program.